little bit about risk today, because when we think about making a change in our lives, often it feels risky. And I want to unpack that idea of risk a little bit and see if we can open up a little bit more perspective on that. As you know, you've heard me talk about change a lot in my own life. You know, I have moved across country, 2,000 miles from my home to somewhere where I knew zero people. I have switched my career in midlife from a field where I was a recognized expert to starting from square one. I have been married, divorced, married again. I have managed my way through a pretty significant health crisis and come back into good health. And, you know, some of these changes happened to me and some of them I chose to initiate. But if I'm being really radically honest with myself, looking, with 2020 hindsight, that even those changes that I didn't consciously initiate, by making a choice not to initiate them, I incurred some risk. I created a situation where I was forced to change through chaos and crisis rather than having the inner authority and the tools and power to make that conscious choice and initiate the change in a way and at a pace that worked for me, by choosing not to change when I had the opportunity. I have often thrown myself into chaos and crisis, and I'm wondering if any of you have had that experience too. And, we all have. It's human nature to resist change. And really, we will change when the pain and discomfort of staying the same outweighs, the perceived risk of changing. And because we associate change with some of that chaos, that discomfort, that crisis that many of us may have experienced, we also associate it with a great deal of risk. Change just feels risky. But does it have to? And that's the question that I want to spend a little bit of time exploring today. So initiating a change toward a new career, a new state of health, toward living in a new community, changing your community, changing in a relationship, any of those major life changes puts us into uncharted territory. And this can bring up a lot of fear. Fear of regret, of making the wrong choice, fear of losing something or someone that we value, fear of failure, fear of not being able to follow through, fear of judgment or criticism from others. Have any of you experienced those fears when contemplating a change? I know those are pretty natural ones that come up for me. And the longer we allow ourselves to stay in this place of fear, the more risky initiating that change will feel. But what about the risk of not changing? Of looking back on your life and realizing that you spent months or even years in a situation that drained your energy, that had you living in a stress stew, that stole your joy, that had you missing opportunities that might not come around again. And when those fears are the fears that start keeping me up at night, those are the fears that let me know that it's time for me to start working toward that change, to make a conscious choice and take that first step to make a significant change in my life. And ultimately, it's that discomfort of staying the same outweighs the perceived risk of moving into uncharted territory and gives us that motivation to start moving forward. And in so many ways, initiating a change does require a leap of faith. And a leap of faith is scary, but it doesn't have to be a leap of faith from 20,000 feet with no parachute, no safety net, no idea what's on the ground when you land, and no idea of where you're headed. I would never ask any of you to take that kind of leap of faith unless that's just what you want to do. We can't eliminate risk, but we can manage it. Risk is part of being human, but when we make a conscious choice and go into change at on our own conscious choosing, we have the opportunity to manage risk.